He expected jet-lag airport coffee and another empty hotel room. He did not expect to come home early and watch his wife open the front door barefoot for the only man who should never have crossed that threshold. Graham Foster had always believed betrayal announced itself loudly. A lipstick stain. A perfume that belonged to no one in the house. A text message glowing in the dark like a confession. Instead, it arrived as silence. The flight from Chicago to Seattle had been delayed twice, and by the time Graham checked into the downtown hotel, the city was slick with rain and office lights. He dropped his carry-on beside the bed, loosened his tie, and called Elena out of habit before he even removed his shoes. She answered on the fourth ring. "Hey," she said. Just one word. No warmth, no familiar smile inside the syllable. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah, just tired." He stood at the window watching headlights smear across wet streets below. Long day. Something like that. Normally, Elena narrated everything: the rude cashier, the dog that barked next door, the wine she hated at lunch with friends. She could turn a trip to the grocery store into theater. Tonight, she sounded like someone speaking from another room. "You eat dinner?" he asked. "Mm-hmm." "What did you have?" A pause. "Salad." He smiled, despite himself. That pause means fries. Another pause longer this time. "I'm exhausted, Graham," he lowered his voice. "Then sleep. I just wanted to hear you." "I know. No, I miss you. No call me tomorrow. No softness at the edges." When the line ended, he stared at his own reflection in the black window. 41 years old, senior operations director, reliable husband, predictable man, the kind who remembered anniversaries and renewed warranties before they expired. He told himself he was being ridiculous. Travel sharpened insecurity. Hotels did that. Anonymous rooms made every marriage feel farther away than it was. Still, he checked their shared location app before bed. Location unavailable. He frowned. Elena never turned it off. Not because he demanded it, they had enabled it years ago after she got stranded with a dead battery during a snowstorm. It had stayed on because convenience slowly becomes intimacy. He typed location off. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No answer came. The next morning, Graham was in a glass conference room overlooking Elliott Bay when Elena finally texted back. "Phone glitch. Sorry, babe. Busy morning." He read it twice. No emoji, no teasing tone, no accidental misspelling from typing too fast. He slid the phone face down before the clients noticed his distraction. "Everything all right, Mr. Foster?" one of them asked. "Perfect," Graham said. He delivered the presentation flawlessly. He spoke about supply chain resilience, forecast margins, and strategic flexibility, while something primitive and ugly moved beneath his ribs. That night, he called again. She answered quickly this time, too quickly. "Hey," she said brightly, almost performing normalcy. "There you are. I was just about to shower." He closed his eyes. "How was your day?" "Good. Busy." "With what?" A laugh. "You interrogating me now? I'm talking to my wife." "Well, your wife cleaned the kitchen, answered emails, went to Pilates, and survived another thrilling suburban Tuesday." He wanted to relax. He wanted her sarcasm to feel familiar. Instead, it felt rehearsed. In the background, something thudded. A door footsteps. "What was that?" he asked. What was what? That noise. "The TV. You don't watch TV in the laundry room." Silence. Then sharper. "Graham, are you seriously doing this?" "Doing what?" "Noticing." He swallowed. "Forget it. No, say it." He looked around the sterile hotel room, suddenly embarrassed by how lonely he felt. "I said forget it." She exhaled hard. "I have to go." The line clicked dead. At midnight, unable to sleep, Graham opened social media. Elena had posted a photo 3 hours earlier. Candles on the patio table, 2 wine glasses, caption, "Learning to enjoy my own company." He stared at the second glass. Maybe old photo. Maybe friend had left. Maybe nothing. He enlarged the image until pixels broke apart. In the sliding door reflection behind her, there was a shape. Broad shoulders, male height, someone standing just outside frame. His pulse kicked once hard. He nearly called her again. Instead, he set the phone down and sat very still. The human mind protects itself with alternatives. There are dozens of innocent explanations before it accepts the cruelest one. He spent the next hour inventing all of them. On day 3, his younger sister Marissa texted from Milwaukee. "Have you heard from Noah today?" Graham frowned. No. Why, he was supposed to sign school forms. Ignoring calls. Typical. Noah Bennett, Marissa's husband. Graham read the name and felt something cold enter the room. Noah had been around often lately, helping with small repairs, borrowing tools, asking Graham about contacts and commercial real estate, staying too long after family dinners. A charming man if charm were measured only by volume. Graham typed carefully. "Maybe working. I'll let you know if I hear anything." He did not mention the second wine glass. He did not mention the disabled location. He did not mention that for the first time in 11 years of marriage, hearing another man's name beside his wife's routine felt dangerous. That evening, Elena called first. "Thought I'd surprise you," she said. He almost laughed at the word. Mission accomplished. She spoke lightly about groceries, whether a neighbor's escaped golden retriever. Too much detail now, too much color after days of gray. People overcorrect when they sense suspicion. "Miss you," she said suddenly. He leaned back in the desk chair. "Do you—" "Of course I do." "Then why do you sound like someone auditioning to be my wife?" Silence. When she answered, her voice had changed again, smaller, harder. "You're tired. I'm tired. Don't create problems because distance makes you paranoid." Maybe she was right. Maybe loneliness had made him theatrical. Maybe marriage simply had weather systems. But when they hung up, Graham checked the app once more. Location unavailable. Then he opened their home security dashboard. Front camera offline, back camera offline, garage camera offline. All three had gone dark at 7:12 p.m. The same minute she said she was grocery shopping. Graham stared at the screen until the numbers blurred. Somewhere inside him, denial was still alive. But it was bleeding. By the 4th morning in Seattle, Graham Foster had memorized the pattern of the rain against his hotel window. Soft before dawn, hard by 7. Then a thin gray mist that made the skyline look unfinished. He woke before his alarm and reached for his phone before he reached for consciousness. No messages from Elena. He checked the home security app again, still offline. He checked the thermostat controls next. Someone had adjusted the downstairs heat at 11:43 p.m. Elena hated warm rooms at night. She always complained the house felt suffocating above 68. He stared at the number on the screen, 72, and felt foolish for noticing it, then more foolish for pretending it meant nothing. Elena finally called while he was buttoning his shirt. "Morning," she said brightly. Her voice had the polished shine of someone already prepared. "You're up early? I couldn't sleep." "That's new." A small laugh. "Guess I miss you." He waited. There it was again, that sentence delivered at the correct time in the correct tone with none of the messiness that made affection real. "How's the house?" he asked. "Fine. Camera's still down, I told you. Wi-Fi issue. The thermostat works." Silence. Then a quicker answer than natural speech. "Different system. It uses the same router." "You're doing that thing again." "What thing?" "Cross-examining me?" He picked up his tie, then set it down. "I'm asking simple questions, and I'm giving simple answers." A sound moved in the background. Not television. Not plumbing. A low scrape like furniture shifting across wood. Graham straightened. "What was that? What was what? That? I don't hear anything." Another pause. Then she said too casually, "Probably the cat next door jumping the fence. You can hear a cat move furniture through walls now." Her breath sharpened. "I have to go." "Elena?" "What is someone there?" The silence that followed was longer than any confession. "No." Then the line ended. At lunch, Graham sat across from 3 executives discussing regional expansion while he replayed that pause over and over. People lied in many ways. Some rushed, some over-explained, some became offended because outrage often distracted from truth. Elena preferred omission. She would leave empty spaces and trust others to fill them kindly. He had loved that quality once. It made conflict rare. Now it made trust impossible. "Graham," he looked up. The client was waiting. "Sorry." "You with us?" He forced a smile. "Always." He answered every question correctly. Numbers came easily when emotions did not. That evening, Elena sent a photo unprompted. A ladder leaned against the hallway wall. Open toolbox on the floor, caption domestic chaos. Guess who forgot to fix the ceiling crack? He zoomed in. The toolbox was his, but the tools inside were arranged neatly, almost displayed. Elena never touched tools. She called a screwdriver the twisty one. He typed back, "Who's helping 3 minutes? No one. I can manage a ladder." He stared. Then another text arrived. "Okay, fine. Noah stopped by earlier. Happy now." The anger that rose in him was immediate, not because Noah had been there, but because the truth came only after pressure. Why hide that? Because you're making everything weird. How long was he there? An hour. Maybe less. Doing what? Repairing the crack? You said you were alone. No reply. Then you're exhausting right now. He set the phone down so carefully it almost felt violent. Noah Bennett had always entered rooms as if applause were slightly delayed. Tall, handsome, in an obvious way, expensive stubble maintained with intention. He sold commercial property when sales were good and consulted when they were not. He hugged too hard, laughed too loud, and treated boundaries as invitations. Graham had helped him more than once. A bridge loan when commissions dried up. An introduction to a developer, a recommendation he had not fully believed in. Marissa Graham's younger sister called Noah a project when she was being generous and a beautifully dressed teenager when she was not. Graham remembered last Thanksgiving. Elena in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, laughing at something Noah whispered while carving pie with the wrong knife. Noah catching Graham watching and smiling without embarrassment. At the time, Graham had dismissed it as vanity. Noah flirted with mirrors if they reflected enough light. Now memory rearranged itself. That night, Graham called Marissa. She answered breathless, likely chasing her kids. "Hey, big brother. How are things with me or with the tornadoes I gave birth to with Noah?" A pause. "That good, huh?" He leaned back in the hotel chair. "Just asking. He's been weird lately. Late nights, sudden gym obsession, new cologne for a man who forgets toothpaste." Graham said nothing. Marissa continued, voice flattening. "Why no reason? Don't do that. Do what?" Use that calm voice when something's wrong." He rubbed his temple. "I'm probably imagining things." "With Elena?" He froze. Marissa inhaled sharply on the other end. "Graham, I didn't say that. You didn't have to." Neither spoke for several seconds. Then she said quietly, "If there's something real, I want truth, not protection." He looked at the wet glass beyond the hotel window. "I don't have truth yet." "Then don't accuse anybody until you do." That was why he loved his sister. Even wounded, she respected facts. At 10:16 p.m., the front camera came back online. One image loaded, driveway empty, then another. Noah's truck reversing out, timestamp 10:11 p.m. Graham's chest went hollow. He opened the garage log, manual open at 6:58 p.m. Manual close at 10:09 p.m., 4 hours. He called Elena immediately. She answered on the second ring, breathing lightly. "Hey." Noah was there 4 hours. What, the garage log is working now? Silence. Then, we lost track of time. He stayed to help. With a ceiling crack. He also checked the sink. The sink was repaired last month. "You remember every pipe in this house now?" "I remember what I paid for." "Wow." He stood. "Don't do that. Do what turned this into my tone." Her voice trembled now, not with sorrow, but with nerves. "You're in another state, spiraling over timestamps. I'm in another state, listening to my wife lie. Nothing." Then he asked the question cleanly. "Why is Noah in my house at 10 at night?" She answered too fast. "Because you weren't." The words landed before she could take them back. Both of them heard it. Both understood it. Elena's breath caught. "Graham, I didn't mean—" He ended the call. He stood motionless in the hotel room, phone still in hand. There are moments when pain is not dramatic, no shouting, no collapse, just a rearrangement of gravity. He sat on the edge of the bed and tried to place every recent conversation into a new shape. The delayed texts, the polished voice, the missing cameras, Noah's truck. Because you weren't. It might still mean loneliness. It might still mean emotional stupidity, not physical betrayal, but innocence was shrinking fast. He opened his laptop and logged into the family cloud account, shared backups, shared documents, shared devices. He had never searched through Elena's digital life before. Trust had once made that unnecessary. Now trust was a corpse and practical matters remained. The first folder that synced was labeled Kitchen Remodel Ideas. The second was labeled Taxes 2025. The third had no label at all. Inside were 27 deleted screenshots. The first image began to load. Graham stopped breathing. The first screenshot loaded slowly, line by line, as if the universe were giving Graham one last chance to close the laptop. It was a text thread between Elena and a number saved only as N. No names, no hearts, no photographs explicit enough to qualify as certainty. But intimacy rarely introduced itself dramatically. It lived in shorthand. You left your watch. Keep it there. Gives me a reason to come back. Stop. You didn't mean that yesterday. Graham stared until the words blurred. There was no date visible. The screenshot had been cropped. The sender hidden except for that initial. N could mean Noah. N could mean nothing. He hated how desperately the mind defended itself even while bleeding. He closed the laptop and dressed for work with mechanical precision. Shower, shirt, tie, shoes. When pain is fresh, routine becomes anesthesia. The meetings that day took place inside a polished conference tower overlooking Seattle Harbor. Men and women with expensive watches discussed expansion models, while Graham's attention drifted towards smaller mathematics. How many lies could fit inside 4 hours? How many times had Noah entered his house before cameras went dark? How long did it take a marriage to become theater without one person noticing? Mr. Foster said a client, son, he looked up, we're asking whether your team can commit by quarter end. Yes, Graham said immediately. They nodded, impressed by decisiveness. Only Graham knew it was reflex. At noon, his phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Carver, the widow who lived 2 houses down from them in Naperville. She was 72, observant, and treated neighborhood updates like civic duty. Hi, dear. Sorry to bother you while traveling. Is this your brother's truck? Been here since last night. Wanted to be sure all okay? A photo followed. The image was harmless enough at first glance, dawn light, wet pavement. Noah's black pickup parked at the curb in front of Graham's house. A sprinkling of maple leaves on the windshield, porch light still on, timestamp in the corner, 6:18 a.m. Graham enlarged it. The truck windows were fogged from inside. He swallowed hard. He typed carefully. Thanks, Mrs. Carver. Everything's fine. Appreciate you checking. He set the phone down, then picked it up again, then set it down once more. There are humiliations no one witnesses except the person enduring them. Those can be the worst kind. At 2:07 p.m., Elena texted, How's your day? He stared at the message for nearly a minute, then replied, Productive. Yours busy. Running errands. Errands. He imagined Noah waking in his bed or guest room or couch or anywhere inside the architecture Graham had paid for and nearly crushed the phone in his hand. Instead, he typed, Did Noah stay over 3 dots appeared instantly. Disappeared. Reappeared. What? No. Why would you ask that? He sent the photo. No caption, no accusation, just evidence. 7 minutes passed. Then his truck broke down late. He didn't want to drive. Slept in the guest room. Graham laughed once. It startled the man sitting beside him. Everything all right? The colleague asked. Perfect, Graham said. That evening, he returned to the hotel and opened the shared banking account. He had managed household finances for years, not out of control, but efficiency. Elena disliked budgets the way some people disliked weather. Resentful but passive. The credit card log scrolled in neat rows. Groceries, pharmacy, gas. Then 3 charges over the last month he did not recognize. Bella Naughty, $186.40. Lark House Steak, $241.17. Vintage Room, $129.90. Restaurants in Chicago, upscale, intimate. Places Elena had never once mentioned. He checked dates. All on evenings, Graham had been working late downtown or attending industry dinners. He opened the calendar in his head. March 12th, she said girls' night. March 29th, she said migraine stayed home. April 9th, she said dinner with her sister. He called Marissa. She answered after 2 rings. Please tell me you're calling with normal family drama. Were you with Elena on April 9th? Silence. No. Did she tell me she was with you? Another pause, colder now. Yes. Graham closed his eyes. Marissa's voice sharpened. What's happening? I'm not sure yet. Stop protecting me. I'm protecting facts. Facts don't park overnight in your driveway. He said nothing. She exhaled slowly. If Noah is involved, I want to know before I become the punchline. You won't. That's not an answer. No, Graham said quietly. It's a promise. At 9:30 p.m., Elena called. You talked to Marissa, she asked immediately, so Noah had warned her. Yes? Why are you dragging other people into our marriage? Our marriage, he said. Interesting phrase today. Don't do this. Do what? This cold, superior thing where you act like prosecutor. He stood by the hotel window, city lights scattered beneath him. Then give me something a prosecutor wouldn't need. She inhaled sharply. Noah stayed in the guest room. End of story. Why lie first? I didn't lie. You said he wasn't there. I was trying to avoid exactly this. This what your suspicion, your judgment, your obsession with details. He looked at the restaurant charges glowing on his laptop. Who was Bella Notte with silence? Then softer. What March 12th? $186. Who were you with? You're checking statements now. Answer me. A friend. Name. That's insane. Name. She said nothing. He asked the next one. Lark House Steak, $241. No response. Vintage Room. Still nothing. When she finally spoke, her voice trembled with anger. You know what your problem is? No. Tell me. You think providing money means owning truth. He almost admired the deflection. My problem, he said calmly, is that I'm asking simple questions, and my wife treats honesty like surrender. Maybe because honesty with you feels like trial. Then you should have thought of that before creating evidence, she gasped softly. There it was, the first moment she realized the ground had shifted. He was no longer guessing. After the call, Graham sat in darkness with only the laptop screen illuminating the room. He opened the deleted screenshot folder again. This time he kept going. Message fragments. A selfie of Elena's shoulder in dim light, a close-up of Noah's wristwatch on Graham's nightstand, a cropped image of 2 wine glasses beside their patio fire pit, then one screenshot from Noah. He still thinks I admire him. Graham read it 3 times. Something changed inside him then. Until now, the pain had centered on Elena. Loneliness, weakness, desire, cowardice, all ugly, all human. But Noah was different. Noah was not lost. He was hunting. This was not just sex or boredom or accidental closeness. It was theft with intent. Graham leaned back and felt the second stage of shock begin, not disbelief now, but anger so clean it almost felt clarifying. He opened his company email. There, buried 2 weeks earlier, was a forwarded thread from Noah requesting an introduction to one of Graham's clients. Subject line, would mean a lot, brother. Graham stared at the word, then smiled for the first time in days. Not because anything was funny, because patterns were becoming leverage. He started a new folder on his desktop. He named it Truth, then began saving everything. By Friday morning, the deal in Seattle had collapsed for reasons unrelated to Graham's private disaster. The client delayed expansion. Legal needed another quarter. Everyone apologized in sleek conference rooms with filtered coffee and corporate regret. You'll have to come back next month, one executive said. Graham shook hands, smiled professionally, and thanked them for their time. Inside, he felt only relief. He could be home by nightfall, he did not tell Elena. That decision arrived without debate. A week earlier, secrecy would have felt manipulative. Now it felt like the only language left in the marriage. He booked the earliest flight to Chicago, checked out of the hotel, and carried 1 suitcase through the lobby where strangers discussed weather markets, dinner plans, ordinary concerns of people whose lives had not split open. On the plane, Graham watched clouds gather beneath the wing and replayed every conversation of the past month. Elena asking whether he needed to travel so often. Noah suddenly volunteering to help around the house. Marissa joking that her husband knew more about Graham's garage than his own children's schedules. At the time, each moment had been harmless enough. Betrayal often depended on that truth. Nothing damning alone, everything damning together. The flight attendant asked if he wanted another drink. No thanks. He wanted clarity more than numbness. He landed just after 8 p.m. Rain had followed him east. The highway home gleamed black under streetlights. Wipers beat a steady rhythm across the windshield. His phone lit twice with messages from Elena. How was the presentation? Then 20 minutes later. You alive out there? He did not answer. The house sat at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac in Naperville, warm-lit and immaculate behind trimmed hedges. Elena had always cared deeply how things looked from the street. Graham parked half a block away. He turned off the engine and listened to rain tick against cooling metal. From this distance, the house appeared peaceful. Kitchen light on. Living room lamp glowing amber, shadows moving occasionally behind curtains. He checked the time. 9:14 p.m. Then he saw headlights turn the corner. Noah's truck rolled slowly down the street with its lights dimmed before stopping not in the driveway but 2 houses away. Careful, experienced. Noah stepped out wearing a dark jacket and carrying nothing. He looked once up and down the street, not paranoid, just practiced, then walked through the rain toward Graham's side garage entrance. Graham's hands tightened on the steering wheel until his knuckles whitened. This was the moment denial made its final argument. Maybe emergency repair, maybe borrowed tool, maybe innocent stupidity. Then Noah keyed 4 numbers into the garage pad. The door lifted immediately, no knocking. No waiting, no hesitation, someone who belonged there, someone who had done it before. Noah slipped inside, the garage door closed behind him. Denial died instantly. Graham did not move for nearly a minute. His pulse thundered in his throat with such force he could hear it. He had imagined discovering lipstick on a collar, a message by accident, some dramatic cinematic clue. Instead, the worst evidence was familiarity. The code entered without pause. The body language of routine. The certainty that another man knew how to enter his home in darkness. He stepped out into the rain. Cold water hit his face and coat immediately. He walked toward the house slowly, each footfall deliberate on wet pavement. Halfway there he stopped. Anger wanted spectacle, rage wanted noise, but something colder and more dangerous had awakened in him during the weak discipline. If he stormed inside now, they would deny, minimize, rewrite. He needed truth, not theater. He circled to the side yard where a narrow path led beneath the kitchen window. Inside, Elena stood at the island in a silk blouse he had bought her in New York City last anniversary. She was pouring wine. 2 glasses. Noah stood beside her, jacket off, now sleeves rolled to his forearms, laughing at something she said, laughing in Graham's kitchen. Elena touched Noah's wrist casually as she passed him a glass. Not sexual. Worse. Comfortable. Graham crouched below the window and closed his eyes. Pain came in strange layers. The affair itself was one wound. But domestic intimacy, their ease, their private habits performed in his home cut deeper. He moved to the back patio doors. The curtains were partially open. Their reflections shimmered against the dark yard. He could hear fragments now. He still checks everything, Elena said. Noah laughed. That's because numbers are easier than people. He isn't a bad man. No, Noah replied. That almost makes it easier. Graham's jaw tightened. Elena sipped wine. Stop. Stop what? Telling truth. You enjoy this too much? A pause. Then Noah stepped closer. I enjoy being chosen. Elena looked down. She did not step away. Graham felt something inside him go silent. Not calm, not forgiveness. The death of illusion. He backed away from the glass doors and stood in the rain, breathing hard. His first instinct was to burst in and ask every brutal question at once. How many times? In my bed, did you laugh at me together? But shock had sharpened him. He took out his phone and began recording from the shadows. Through the glass, Noah leaning against the counter. Elena refilling his wine. Their faces close enough that explanation would require fiction. Then Noah touched the small of her back. Elena did not flinch. She kissed him first. Brief, certain, practiced. Graham lowered the phone. He already had enough. He returned to his car and sat drenched behind the wheel. Inside the house, lights glowed warmly for the people betraying him. Inside the car, the windshield fogged with his breath. He wanted to scream. Instead, he organized. He sent the video to a private cloud drive. He copied the restaurant statements. He saved screenshots. He wrote down tonight's timestamps. September 16th arrival. September 17th, garage code used. September 29th, wine poured. September 34th, kiss observed. Facts were steadier than feelings. His phone buzzed. Elena calling. He stared at the screen, then answered. "Hey," she said lightly. "You disappeared. I was in meetings. How'd it go?" "Productive." He watched the front windows of his own house while she lied from inside it. "When are you home?" she asked. "Tomorrow afternoon?" "Oh," she said too quickly, masking something. "Okay. Why?" "No reason. I miss you." He looked at the warm-lit kitchen where Noah still stood 10 yards away. "Do you?" Graham asked. "Of course." He ended the call without another word. At 10:11 p.m., Noah exited through the garage. Again the code. Again no hesitation. He drove away. Graham waited another 20 minutes, then entered the house through the front door using his key. Elena was on the couch in loungewear, now hair retied, television on low volume. A staged version of solitude. She startled when she saw him. "Graham." He set down his suitcase slowly. Surprise. Her face drained of color, then rearranged itself into joy. "Oh my God, you should have told me." "Why?" So I could pick you up," I managed. She rushed forward to hug him. He stepped aside. The smallest movement, but it landed like a slap. She froze. Rainwater dripped from his coat onto the hardwood floor between them. "You're soaked," she whispered. "Yes." He looked past her toward the kitchen counter. 2 wine glasses had been washed and turned upside down to dry, then back at her face. For the first time in their marriage, Graham saw fear there and knew he had not imagined anything. The first crack had become a fracture, and both of them heard it spreading. The house smelled faintly of citrus cleaner and wet wool. Graham stood in the foyer while rainwater pooled beneath his coat. Elena remained 3 feet away, hands half raised from the hug he had refused. The television murmured to an empty room, some late-night host laughing at jokes no one here could hear. "You're home early," she said. "Yes." "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me Noah was here?" The question landed cleanly between them. Elena blinked once, twice. He stopped by. "I know." "To check the garage sensor." Graham looked toward the kitchen with wine. Her jaw tightened. "Can we not do this at the door?" He removed his coat, hung it carefully, and set his suitcase beside the stairs. "We can do it anywhere." They sat across from each other in the living room like polite strangers negotiating damage after a car accident. Elena tucked one leg beneath herself, a gesture she always used when trying to appear soft. Her hair was tied back hastily. She had changed clothes too quickly. One earring remained and the other missing. Graham noticed everything now. "Start with the truth," he said. "I am telling the truth." "No. Start with the part you haven't rehearsed." She exhaled sharply. "You're being cruel. I'm being late." Her eyes flashed. "Nothing physical happened?" He said nothing. It was emotional, she continued, voice steadier now that she'd found a script. "I was lonely. You were gone all the time. Noah listened. That's all." "That's all, yes." "You kissed him." Her face emptied, then refilled with outrage. "You were spying on me. I asked for truth. You offered editing." Elena stood. "I cannot believe you watched through windows like some psycho." He remained seated. "I cannot believe you're offended by the camera angle." She turned away, hugging herself. "Did you sleep with him?" Graham asked. "No. Did he touch you?" "Not like that." "Did you touch him?" "It was complicated." Complicated is not an answer. She spun back. Because every answer with you becomes evidence. Then stop creating evidence. She began to cry. Not heavily, not brokenly. Controlled tears, the kind that asked to be managed. I was alone here, she said. You travel, you work, you come home exhausted. I became furniture in my own marriage. Graham felt the old reflex rise, comfort her, soften, examine his failures first. That instinct had built their life. Tonight it nearly destroyed him. So you chose my brother-in-law? He pursued me. And you're 40 not hypnotized. That's not fair. Neither is adultery. It wasn't adultery. He leaned forward for the first time. Then define it. She opened her mouth, closed it, looked away. He watched the two selves inside her collide, the respectable wife and the woman who had wanted forbidden attention badly enough to risk everything. I made mistakes, she whispered. How many? No answer. How long? Silence. Did you use my garage code or did he? Her eyes flicked upward involuntarily. There it was. He already knew it, she said too quietly. How? I told him once when you were traveling and I locked myself out when I don't remember. You remember. I don't remember exactly because if you remembered, it would have a date. And dates become timelines. She looked at him with something close to hatred, not because he was wrong, because he was precise. At gym 1, 12 a.m. Elena went upstairs saying she was done being interrogated. Graham remained in the dark living room long after her footsteps ceased. The house had changed shape, same furniture, same framed wedding photos, same rug they argued over for 3 weekends. But trust had been load-bearing architecture. Without it, everything looked decorative. He took his laptop to the kitchen island and opened the family cloud account again. Then the old tablet from the drawer, the one Elena used for recipes, online shopping, casual browsing. Many people deleted messages from phones and forgot synchronized devices. He entered the passcode, their anniversary, of course. The message app loaded. Recent threads, archived threads, deleted cache fragments still indexed in previews. His stomach tightened. There was Noah's full name now. No initial, no disguise. He opened it. Weeks of messages, some mundane. Need anything from store garage, opener acting weird. Marissa thinks I'm golfing, LOL. Then the current beneath them. He leaves Thursday, right? Yes. Early flight. Wear that blue silk thing. You're impossible. You liked impossible on the patio. Graham's jaw clenched so hard pain shot into his temple. He kept reading. I feel guilty. Then stop texting me. You know I won't. Good. Another thread later, guest room tonight. Promise, liar. You never complain when I lie in person. Graham closed his eyes. Partial truth was often crueler than a full lie because it forced the betrayed person to do the remaining work. He printed everything. Page after page slid from the office printer in the study. Mechanical, clean, impersonal, the language of consequences. At 2:03 a.m., he found a final exchange from 3 nights ago. He's getting suspicious. Let him. He worships stability too much to leave. Don't talk about him like that. Then stop proving me right. Graham stared at those lines until the printer stopped humming. Noah's contempt was expected now. Elena's defense of him should have comforted Graham. Instead, it only deepened the wound. Even in betrayal, she wanted to preserve both men. He went upstairs carrying the stack of pages. Elena was awake in bed, lamp on mascara faintly shadowed beneath her eyes. She sat up when she saw the papers. What is that? The rest of your truth. He dropped them onto the duvet. Sheets scattered like snow. Her face drained as she recognized the message layout. You went through my devices. You went through my marriage. That is private. He laughed once, small and sharp. You invited another man into our house. Privacy ended there. She grabbed pages, scanning wildly. Oh my God. No, he said. That phrase is for accidents. Tears rose again, realer now. I didn't mean for this to happen. Which part? The texts, the lies, the scheduling around my flights. I was lonely. You were strategic. She shook her head violently. No, Noah pushed things. He knew what to say. He made me feel seen. And when he asked you to wear the blue silk thing, She covered her face. When he said guest room tonight, stop. When he mocked me, stop. He stepped closer, voice low and even. Did you sleep with him? She sobbed once, then whispered yes. There it was. Not dramatic, not thunderous, just a syllable that ended a life he thought he had. How many times, I don't know. You know, a few, in my bed. She said nothing. He asked again. In my bed. Her silence answered. Graham felt himself leave denial completely and enter a colder country. No shouting came, no thrown lamp, no smashed frame, only clarity. Pack a bag, he said. She looked up horrified. What tonight? You can't mean that. I mean exactly what I say now. You taught me the value of precision. Graham, please, guest room, hotel, sister's house. I don't care. This is my home too. It was. She stared at him as if seeing a stranger. He realized she was. The man who absorbed forgave, explained away discomfort. She had built her affair beside him because she believed he would remain that man forever. She was learning otherwise. As Elena hurriedly filled a suitcase, crying and calling him heartless, Graham stood in the hallway outside their bedroom. He did not feel victorious. He felt gutted. But beneath the grief, something steadier had begun. Self-respect often arrives quietly after humiliation has exhausted itself. When she dragged the suitcase downstairs, she paused at the front door. I do love you, she said. He met her eyes. You loved being forgiven. She flinched, then left. The door closed. The house fell silent. Graham stood alone in the wreckage of a marriage and understood one brutal truth. The affair had broken his heart. The lies had cured his illusions. Morning arrived without mercy. The house in Naperville was too quiet, every room carrying the strange acoustics of absence. Graham woke on the couch, though he did not remember lying down. His neck ached. His wedding ring felt heavier than metal. Upstairs, Elena's closet doors stood open. Hangers swayed slightly in the draft from a window she had forgotten to close. He walked through the rooms slowly, not searching for memories. Those came uninvited, but for facts. The blue silk blouse was gone. 2 framed photographs were turned face down in the bedroom trash can. On the kitchen counter sat a note written in Elena's neat handwriting. I'm staying at the Riverside Suites for now. We need to talk when emotions settle. Please don't make this uglier than it already is. He read the last sentence twice, then laughed. There was something almost elegant in how betrayal always requested dignity from the betrayed. His phone buzzed at 8:14 a.m. Marissa calling. He answered. Tell me it isn't true, she said immediately. Her voice was raw, already wounded by knowledge not yet fully spoken. How much do you know that Noah came home at 3 a.m. smelling like whiskey and panic? That he said you and Elena are misunderstanding boundaries? That I married a clown? Graham closed his eyes. It's true, he said quietly. Silence. Then a sharp inhale as if she had been punched somewhere invisible. How long? I don't know everything yet. Did they? Yes. He heard something crash in the background. Perhaps a mug. Perhaps a decade. Come get your brother-in-law, she said coldly, before I bury him in the yard. The line went dead. At 10:27 a.m., Noah texted, we should talk man to man. Graham stared at the message, then replied, we're Masons on Route 59. Noon. A sports bar. Neutral territory for courts who wanted confrontation with appetizers. Noah was already there when Graham arrived. He sat in a booth wearing a navy sweater and expensive watch, looking freshly shaved, almost polished by crisis. Some men believed grooming could substitute for character. He stood as Graham approached. Thanks for coming. Graham sat without shaking his hand. You have 10 minutes. Noah gave a rueful smile. Still efficient. Start. The waitress came. Graham ordered black coffee. Noah ordered bourbon before noon. That at least went on me. Was honest. I never meant for this to explode, Noah began. Graham said nothing. It started stupidly. No. It started deliberately. Continue. Noah leaned back, studying him. You know what your problem is? Interesting opener. You've always thought being stable made you superior. Graham almost smiled. You slept with your wife's brother. I'm comfortable with comparisons. Noah's jaw flexed. There it is, he said. That tone. That calm contempt. You've had it since college. Since family dinners. Since every time you wrote a check and pretended it was generosity instead of judgment. I helped you because Marissa asked. Exactly. Noah pointed at him. You helped me. You helped everybody. Golden Graham, reliable Graham, mortgage promotions, clean shirts, lake house weekends. There is no lake house. You know what I mean? No, Graham said quietly. I know what envy sounds like. For the first time, Noah's mask slipped. I wanted to know if your life was as solid as you acted, he said. If the wife who looked at you like you were gravity could be moved. The waitress set down the bourbon. No one touched it. And Graham asked. Noah held his gaze. She moved. The words should have ignited violence. Instead, they brought something colder. Pity. Not for Noah's marriage, which he had ruined, not for his career, which Graham suspected would soon follow. Pity for a man so hollow he measured worth by what he could corrupt. You didn't win anything, Graham said. Noah smirked. Didn't I? No. You proved you can borrow another man's house key and confuse access with value. Noah's smile vanished. They sat in silence for several seconds. Then Noah lowered his voice. Elena said you'd react like this. Graham's eyes narrowed. Like what controlled. Superior. Pretending pain is strategy. The sentence landed harder than expected because it carried Elena's fingerprints. She talks about me with you often. She talked about being lonely. She scheduled loneliness around my flights. Noah shrugged. Maybe. But she chose. Yes, Graham said. And now she can live with choices. Noah leaned forward. You think throwing her out makes you strong? I think consequences make adults. You're going to lose everything over pride. Graham stood. No, he said. You already lost everything over envy. He placed cash for the coffee on the table and walked out. Behind him, Noah called, She still wants you, you know. Graham did not turn around. Some bait insults itself by being obvious. Back home, he sat in the study and opened a legal pad. For the first 48 hours after betrayal, emotion had driven the hours. Shock, rage, nausea, sleepless loops of memory. Now came structure. He wrote 3 columns. Marriage. Business reputation. Under marriage attorney consultation. Financial separation, preserve evidence, change access codes. Under business review. Whether Noah used referrals improperly, notify partners privately, protect accounts under reputation. Decide what truth belongs public. Decide what remains private. He underlined the last point twice. Revenge performed badly often humiliated the injured person most. He wanted precision, not spectacle. At 3:40 p.m., Elena called. He let it ring once, twice, then answered. Hi, she said softly. What do you need? That's cold. That's recent. A pause. Did you meet Noah? Yes. What did he say? The truth, for once. She inhaled sharply. He can be cruel when cornered. You knew that. I know. I made a mess. You made choices. Please stop speaking like a lawyer. Please stop speaking like this happened to you. Silence. Then quieter. I never wanted to hurt you. You wanted what hurting me required. Tears entered her voice. Can we talk somewhere private? No yelling. No accusations. I haven't yelled once. That almost makes it worse. He looked around the study lined with frame certifications, tax files, family photos not yet removed. We will talk, he said. After my attorney reviews the finances. Her breathing changed. Attorney. Yes. Graham. Don't be dramatic. He nearly admired the instinct. Affair. Lies. Family destruction. But legal counsel was the dramatic part. We're past tone management, he said, and ended the call. That evening, he changed every code in the house. Garage, alarm, Wi-Fi, shared streaming accounts. Then he removed Noah's emergency contact status from the family phone plan. Tiny practical surgeries. Each one hurt less than expected. At sunset, Mrs. Carver from 2 houses down waved while collecting mail. "You back safe, dear?" she called. "Yes, ma'am?" "Your brother visited a lot while you were gone." Graham paused. "Did he?" "Oh, yes, nice smile. Terrible parking." He thanked her. Neighborhoods often knew the truth long before marriages did. Night settled over the house. Graham poured himself water. Not whiskey. He stood in the kitchen where Noah had laughed, where Elena had poured wine, where illusions had died in warm light. Then he opened his laptop and scheduled 3 appointments. A divorce attorney, a forensic accountant, a meeting with his firm's compliance officer. Controlled response. No shouting, no broken glass, no impulsive revenge. Just the steady dismantling of every false advantage they believed they held. For the first time since Seattle, Graham felt something close to power return. Not because he could punish them, because he no longer needed their version of the story. 3 weeks after the night Graham came home early, Chicago had begun pretending spring. Trees along the river carried the first hints of green. Restaurant patios reopened. People dressed optimistically against a wind still cold enough to punish them. Graham had changed in quieter ways. Changed. He slept in the guest room now by choice. The divorce petition had been filed. Joint accounts were frozen except household obligations. His attorney called him disciplined, which was the professional word for heartbroken men who refused to collapse publicly. Elena had called every few days, sometimes apologizing, sometimes angry, sometimes nostalgic, as if memory itself could negotiate terms. Tonight she sent only one text. "Please come. It would mean a lot. We can be civil for one night." The event was her annual charity gala at the historic The Drake Hotel Ballroom, an organization funding transitional housing for women rebuilding after domestic hardship. Elena had spent years building prestige there. Board members adored her polish. Social media loved her compassion. Appearances had always been her strongest currency. Graham replied, "I'll be there." The ballroom glowed in chandeliers and curated sincerity. Waiters floated through the room with champagne. A jazz trio softened the corners of expensive conversations. Auction items lined one-wall spa weekends, art packages, Napa trips donated for virtue and tax strategy. Elena stood near the entrance, greeting guests in a silver gown that caught light from every angle. She looked flawless in the deliberate way that required suffering no one else could see. When she spotted Graham, something passed across her face: relief, fear, hope, calculation. He wore a dark suit and no wedding ring. "You came," she said. "You asked?" Her smile trembled. "Thank you." "For what?" "For not making tonight harder." He looked around the room. "That depends." Before she could answer, donors approached. Elena stunning as always. "Graham, good to see you." He shook hands, smiled politely, and watched how naturally society rewarded surfaces. Across the room, Noah stood near the bar. Marissa was not with him. He wore tuxedo confidence and the strained jaw of a man living on borrowed image. Their eyes met. Noah lifted his drink slightly, a private dare. Graham looked away first, not from weakness, but because predators mistake attention for power. Dinner began at 8. The board chair praised Elena's leadership. A slideshow played photographs of renovated apartments, smiling mothers' children, holding keys to new homes. Then came the live auction. Then speeches. At 9:12 p.m., the MC tapped the microphone. And now one of our most dedicated supporters, Mrs. Elena Foster, whose vision has transformed this organization. Applause rose warm and generous. Elena walked to the stage poised and luminous. She thanked sponsors, volunteers, community partners, and those who believed second chances change lives. Graham listened carefully to that phrase. Second chances? Interesting. She concluded to louder applause than before. Then the MC smiled toward Graham's table. "And I understand Elena's husband, Graham Foster, would also like to say a few words tonight." A ripple of pleasant surprise moved through the room. Elena turned sharply, their eyes locked. He stood. "No," she whispered, too far from the microphone for others to hear. He walked to the stage. "Good evening," Graham said, voice calm, carrying easily through the ballroom. "I'll be brief." Laughter. He let it settle. I've admired this organization for years because it claims to stand for truth, dignity, and rebuilding after betrayal. Several guests nodded approvingly. Elena's smile had vanished. I came tonight to honor that mission by contributing transparency. The room shifted slightly, instincts sensing weather. Graham removed a folder from inside his jacket, paper. Physical evidence always felt more serious than digital rumor. Over the last 11 months, charitable reimbursement accounts were repeatedly used for personal dining, private travel, and unauthorized luxury expenses. Murmurs. Elena stepped toward him. Graham, stop, he continued. Those charges were approved under Elena Foster's oversight. Gasps now audible and sharp. Board members exchanged alarmed looks. That is false, Elena said into the side mic. He held up printed statements. Dates, venues, amounts. Projected on screens behind them by a technician who, confused but obedient, had accepted the USB drive Graham handed him moments earlier. Rows of charges appeared 10 feet tall. Bella Naughty, 186.40. Lark House Steak, 241.17. Hotel spa invoices, car service reimbursements. The ballroom erupted in whispers. Elena's face blanched. You hacked private records, no, Graham said. I audited shared patterns. Noah moved from the bar toward the stage. Enough, he snapped. There was the real voice at last. Graham turned slightly, perfect timing. He lifted a second set of papers. These are emails from Noah Bennett to my business contacts using my name and marital connection to solicit contracts while simultaneously conducting an affair with my wife. The room went still. Even gossip needs a second to absorb ambition. Projected behind them now forwarded emails. Graham speaks highly of me. Family ties make trust easy. Would love to discuss partnership. Then another screenshot. Noah to Elena. He still thinks I admire him. A collective intake of breath rolled through the ballroom. Noah lunged for the technician's laptop. Security intercepted him halfway. Get off me! Elegant donors recoiled like birds. Elena grabbed Graham's arm. Please, she whispered fiercely. Not like this. He looked at her hand on his sleeve. Like what publicly you loved public things. Tears flooded her eyes instantly. I said I was sorry. You said many things. This will destroy me. He answered quietly enough only she could hear. You destroyed you in private. I'm only removing lighting. She staggered back as if struck. The board chair took the microphone with trembling hands. We are suspending all financial authority pending immediate review. Another member added, Mrs. Foster, we need your resignation tonight. Phones were out everywhere now, some filming, some texting, some pretending not to witness the social execution while memorizing every detail. Noah shouted from security's grip, you self-righteous bastard. Graham faced him fully. Noah Bennett. Ladies and gentlemen, the first man in history to confuse trespassing with victory. Laughter burst unexpectedly from a rear table, then died in embarrassed shock. Humiliation is cruelest when strangers participate. At the back of the room stood Marissa. No one had seen her enter. She looked at Noah with dry eyes and a face emptied of marriage. I had papers served this afternoon, she said. Noah stopped struggling. What? Check your email. You vindictive no, she said. Efficient. Learned from my brother. She turned and walked out without hurry. Noah sagged visibly. For the first time all night he looked small. Elena remained near the stage mascara, beginning to break beneath controlled tears. Guests gave her a wide perimeter now, scandal creating invisible space. Graham, she said, voice cracking, please talk to me. He considered the woman he had once trusted with every vulnerable part of himself. Then the woman who had lied with composure, begged with timing, and mistaken forgiveness for weakness. There's nothing left to discuss publicly, he said. Privately, then. We already did private. You preferred it. He stepped off the stage. Outside, cold winds swept along Chicago streets. Sirens moved somewhere distant. The city continued with admirable indifference. His attorney, waiting by the curb as arranged, handed him an envelope. Filed copies, temporary orders approved. Graham nodded. Behind the ballroom doors, chaos still churned. Investigations, Videos spreading, careers recalculating, reputations cracking in real time. He should have felt triumph. Instead, he felt lighter. Justice rarely restores innocence. It restores proportion. His phone buzzed once. A message from Elena. How could you do this to someone you loved? He read it under the streetlight, then deleted it without replying. Because some questions answer themselves. By the following Monday, scandal had become searchable. In modern America, disgrace no longer traveled by whisper. It moved through group chats, bored emails, clipped videos, and polite phrases like "we're reviewing the situation." The charity gala footage spread first within Chicago social circles, then farther. Not because anyone cared deeply about nonprofit bookkeeping, but because betrayal dressed in formal wear was irresistible entertainment. Elena Foster resigned before noon. The board released a statement citing financial irregularities inconsistent with organizational values. 3 sponsors withdrew, pending review. A lifestyle magazine that had once featured her home under the headline "Graceful Living in the Suburbs" quietly removed the article. Her world had been built on curation. Now every polished surface reflected ruin. Noah's collapse was less elegant. The commercial brokerage where he worked placed him on indefinite leave after clients forwarded the gala clips alongside Graham's evidence of unauthorized name-dropping and misleading referrals. One developer replied, all with a single sentence: "If this is how he handles family pass." Marissa changed the locks, froze shared cards, and filed for emergency custody terms citing instability and deception. Noah called Graham 11 times in 2 days. Graham answered none. Some men only discover accountability when no one picks up. The divorce moved quickly. Infidelity did not guarantee everything in court, but documented financial misuse, deception, and commingled expenses made negotiations brutal for Elena. She wanted the house. She wanted support. She wanted privacy clauses. What she possessed instead was weakened leverage. Graham's attorney was courteous and surgical. The house would be sold. Joint luxury memberships terminated. Vehicles refinanced separately. Temporary spousal support minimal due to Elena's earning capacity and misconduct-related spending evidence. She signed papers in a conference room with trembling hands. When she slid the final page back, she looked at Graham as if hoping for one last rescue. He simply signed beneath her. The marriage ended not with thunder, but ink. 2 weeks later, Elena asked to meet. Against his attorney's advice, but not against his own need for completion, Graham agreed. They met at a quiet cafe in Naperville on a gray afternoon. No one glamorous came there. The chairs were practical, the coffee honest. Elena arrived 10 minutes early. She looked beautiful still, but beauty had lost its armor. No stylistic perfection could hide the exhaustion around her eyes. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I had time." She flinched at the dryness. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she said, "I hate what happened. You hate consequences. That's unfair." "No," Graham said. "Unfair was learning strangers knew before I did." Tears formed quickly now. Real tears, this time too late to be strategic. "I loved you," she whispered. "I know. I was lonely. You were available to temptation and protected by my trust. I ruined everything." "Yes." The cleanness of the answer made her cry harder. He did not comfort her, not comfort. That was one of the things divorce had changed. She wiped her face and tried again. "Do you ever think we could start over years from now?" He looked out the window at traffic moving steadily through slush. There had been a time he would have traded pride money, sleep, anything to hear her ask that. Now he felt only distance. "No." Her breath caught. "Because of what I did, because of what I learned." She stared. "You think this ended because you slept with Noah?" he said quietly. "It ended because you lied while asking to be trusted, because you let me doubt myself while you knew the truth, because you watched me love you sincerely and used that sincerity as cover." She lowered her eyes. "I'm sorry. I believe you." Hope flickered across her face. Then he continued. "It changes nothing." Hope died visibly. There are apologies that heal and apologies that merely document regret. This was the second kind. When Graham left the cafe, he expected pain. Instead, he felt space. He drove not to the old house they were already in escrow, but to a modest apartment downtown in Chicago overlooking the river. Smaller kitchen, no backyard, no curated family image, no ghosts in every hallway. He unpacked slowly that evening. A few books, 2 framed photographs, one of his late parents, one of Marissa's children at a baseball game. Nothing from the marriage, not out of spite, out of accuracy. Months passed. Noah moved into a furnished rental near the interstate and posted motivational quotes online to an audience that had quietly thinned. He tried dating too quickly, confident serving where character could not. Marissa finalized custody terms and never looked back. Elena found consulting work with a boutique events company in another suburb where fewer people recognized her name. She rented a townhouse with white walls and no history. Sometimes she texted Graham on holidays. "Thinking of you, I hope you're well. I miss the life we had." He never replied, because she always phrased it the same way. Not "I miss you. I miss the life." Even in regret, truth leaked through. One autumn evening, Graham attended a small dinner hosted by colleagues. No gala, no donors, no chandeliers, just 12 people laughter that required no audience and food served on mismatched plates. A coworker named Claire asked if he wanted to walk by the river afterward. He said yes without overthinking it. That surprised him more than anything. Healing was not dramatic either. It was the first unguarded yes after a long season of no. They walked beneath city lights reflected in black water. Wind carried the smell of rain and traffic. "You seem peaceful," Claire said. He considered the word. Months ago he had wanted revenge, then justice, then answers. What remained now was simpler. "Clear," he said. She smiled. That too. Later that night, back in his apartment, Graham opened the last box still unpacked. Inside lay his wedding ring. He held it for a long moment, feeling not rage, not nostalgia, but gratitude for the man who had once worn it honestly. Then he placed it in a drawer and closed it. Some endings are tragic. Some are deserved. And some are the price paid to stop living inside someone else's lie. Graham turned off the light and looked out over Chicago, glowing beyond the glass. He had not won Elena back. He had not restored innocence. He had not erased betrayal. He had won something rarer, the right to belong to himself again.